Welcome to the Mulberry Creek Hour. I'm Josh Morgan.
And I'm Vicki Morgan.
We're Mulberry Creek.
We are Mulberry Creek. Congratulations on starting a band, honey.
Yeah, you too. And a podcast.
And a podcast and a radio show on CHMR. It's been a busy pandemic for us. I think we're into week 7 now of social distancing and washing your hands till their skin is gone and there's just bones left there. Yeah, it's been fun, right?
I can't believe it's been 7 weeks.
I think it's been 7 weeks. It was the first week of our show. Their first official episode was the same week that everything shut down, and CHMR said, "Thanks, guys, you can't come back. You're not allowed in the building."
We did a St. Patrick's Day show and then couldn't come back.
Yeah.
We shut it down.
Well, that should be something. That must be noteworthy. That after our show, everything shut down. Do you think it was us?
I think it probably had something to do with us. We blew out the airwaves. It was so good.
You never know. The history books will tell what actually happened.
So is this our 5th episode or 6th episode?
This is episode 6.
Cool.
And I'm super excited about this one because this is the band that we're talking to later in the show was the inspiration for Mulberry Creek starting a band. Like this was...
They were pretty inspirational.
Yeah. Well, they're a husband and wife team, of course, and they are... both have master's degrees and started...
Like we do.
Like we do. And started a band which is totally out of their comfort zone.
And their parents.
Their parents.
They are parents.
They have a 9-year-old.
So they're doing music and doing parenting at the same time.
Yeah, and they've toured with their little girl.
So this was all motivational, inspirational
well,
stuff for us.
Sometimes when you find out that somebody else is able to do it, it's like, why can't we do that?
Sure, we could do that.
Sure, that's all right. We can do that. We can handle that.
So, and I think we even considered the name of this band that we're going to interview is Tomato.
Yeah.
And I think we even considered for a little while naming our band Potato.
Yeah.
Because we're from Newfoundland.
And we're different. We like our potatoes in different ways. And I thought it'd be kind of funny to be... Is that Tomato? No, that's the potato crowd from Newfoundland.
The potato family.
Yeah. It was not a popular choice on Facebook. And a few people really dug into Mulberry Creek. And I think that was meant to be. We're Mulberry Creek. If anyone can hear the dog snoring in the background, we are, of course, recording in our NPR studio, and we have a little beagle here next to us sleeping. I'm in pajamas.
Sparky is a very good studio dog. He comes down and lays in his little recliner and snores away while we're recording.
Yeah, from the comfort of our house.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Josh is in a polar bear suit.
No, I'm not.
Put the chainsaw away. Roar.
We're losing it.
So yeah, this is definitely crazy times. Of course, the Mulberry Creek Hour, we like to talk to musicians and do some acoustic tunes. And we, full disclosure, one of the reasons we started Mulberry Creek Hour was so that we could get some music out there because how else would you hear it?
No better way to hear your own music on the radio than to start a radio show.
Put it on the radio.
Put your songs on your own show.
Right.
And then you oh, hey, there's my song on the radio.
Listen, sometimes if there's no door, you need to build one and open it and walk through it, I think.
Yeah.
That's what I says anyway.
You're breaking down walls and putting doors back up in the hole.
So, speaking of that, I was just thinking in my head about people knocking on the door, asking us to be on their shows and asking us to perform. And, the offers aren't rolling in because we're social distancing.
Well, nobody wants to come over to our house and record a podcast because they might get coronavirus. Not that we have coronavirus, but...
You never know, right?
Nobody wants to go and be close to people.
It's wild. Going to the grocery store is wild. People will, cut you if you stand too close to them. And people with the masks, I remember years ago when SARS was going on, and I saw pictures of people in Toronto wearing masks, and I thought, God, you guys are overreacting. And now we're weirdos because we're not wearing masks.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild.
Yeah, well, we're doing okay, though. We're hanging in there.
I'm kind of enjoying the social distancing, to be honest. I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I do have a lot of social anxiety, and it's kind of been nice to be... not quarantine. What do you call this? Lockdown in our house?
We're quietly working.
Yeah, we're creating a lot. We're writing. We're doing the podcast. We're doing the interviews over Zoom, and so we're getting everything done that we need to do. And I don't have to worry about the 15 shows every night that I know people want to get back to normal, but I don't know if I even like normal. It was kind of
maybe we'll come back to better than normal.
Yeah. Lots of changes.
And we are doing all of our interviews over Zoom, and so some of the sound is a little funny because it's like because we're talking over the internet, but
yeah,
we're doing it. And anyway, Like, we're getting the interviews done.
The other thing that I like about this show is we're also giving musicians an opportunity to get a little bit of music out there. And I mean, we have fives and fives of people listening all over the world.
Yep.
And that's our way of, while we're putting our own music out there, it's really nice to be able to help other musicians and, do a little shout out to people who are getting in touch and saying they like the show, like my Aunt Jocelyn, for example, who, I gotta say, she's probably been my biggest fan most of my life, if not my entire life.
Hello, Aunt Joss.
Hello, Aunt Joss, in paradise. Thanks for listening, and I'm glad you're liking the show, and stay tuned. We got a song coming up a little bit later that I think you're going to like, and stay tuned, of course, for Tomato Tomato, because they're fantastic.
Yeah, and speaking of fantastic, we got some good news this week.
We did.
Vicky, our resident Victoria Mulberry Creek Morgan, completed her master's in education.
I did.
She's got a diploma on the way in the mail. They're not going to do a graduation ceremony. They're just going to send her diploma in the mail, but she finished her master's program, and she has her master's in education.
In adult education.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to you, too. You graduated yourself with a master's from the States, no less.
From the States.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
How long ago was yours?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I started mine just before you finished. And it's taken a full 3 years. They wouldn't let me speed up the process. And we got news the other day that the graduation ceremony, we were supposed to be in Maine right now for the ceremony and do a trip. And we were going to do a tour. We were going to do some farmers markets and rent out some community centers and play some shows along the way. And man, everything just went to crap. It's all canceled.
So we're doing all our shows from right here at home in the comfort of our own basement.
So I got notice the other day that the graduation ceremony is now going to be online. And the valedictorian is still going to do the speech. And they're honoring Rick Charette, who's the bubblegum guy. He does something about bubblegum.
He's a children's singer.
He's a children's
Maine,
performer, yeah.
Southern Maine.
Yeah, and so he's getting an honorary doctorate, and they're doing the ceremony online. So you can submit a picture and you can put a message on there. They'll put you on the screen for 5 seconds. That's my graduation. I'm not going to say.
They could at least have you photoshopped like walking across an animated stage, like doo doo doo.
Well, they were supposed to send a cap and gown too, but that obviously didn't happen. I happen to have two or three kicking around.
But you did finish your master's in education.
I'm
so
shocked by that.
Congratulations. And I think this song that we're going to do, this Mulberry Creek song, this brand new duet, is called I Came Back for You. That's coming up in a few minutes. And that's kind of related because it's like a high school sweethearts kind of song. Well,
it's a graduation. It's a true story. It's mostly true,
Based on a true story. Inspired by
a
true story.
Well, I went to my high school graduation. And of course, back at Gonzaga, you do the prom. We just called it a grad, but for our American friends, it's prom and senior prom, and it was like it was a big deal.
It's a do.
Oh, people went all out. They were in tanning salons and they got their nails done.
Because there's no sun in Newfoundland.
There is not, but some people expect tans at graduation night. But we went all out. I got a dress from somebody who I think got it at a secondhand store, and she had 3 or 4 dresses for me to pick from. And I dry cleaned it. So my dress cost a total of $8.
Dry cleaning included.
That was the dry cleaning. She didn't charge me for it. But she had 2 or 3 different dresses, and I picked one out, and I ended up at the grad with the same dress as somebody else. My friend Melanie had the same dress on.
Friggin' Melanie.
Well, she was awesome. She looked really good in hers.
Good job.
But I did my own hair. Like, I was not, so, I wasn't exactly well-to-do back then. And there was a boy that I really, he was around for a couple of years through graduation, through high school, and moved away. And I was very heartbroken. He was very sweet, and I had an enormous crush on him, and I had no idea that he was coming back grad night. He came to grad with somebody else, and I went with somebody else, and I got to say, it made my night. And this is just a shout-out. So for all those kids that are seniors this year and are missing out on their graduation, here's what could have happened at your grad. And also, this is just a little note for those teenage boys who find out that there's a girl that likes them. You have a couple of different options. You have hundreds of options, really. But one of your options is to be kind and nice to somebody who has feelings for you. And you never know. 25 years later, she might write a song about how nice you were. Because we're still very, very good friends. And he is just the sweetest person. You don't have to break somebody's heart. You don't have to stomp on it. You don't have to be an a-hole. You can really be kind to somebody. And you can, it was just the sweetest thing ever. That my graduation night was one of the best nights of my life, and it was because of this guy who, was very sweet. And there's a picture somewhere in one of these boxes here in the basement of our grad, and it was really sweet. We had, of course, I went to Gonzaga. There was a lot of really nice people that I graduated with, and I really had a great grad night. I spent that night, I think, at Classic Cafe with my friend Allison, and we were up till like the sun came up. We watched the sun coming up, and I remember sitting at Classic Cafe, the original one, and looking across at the Bowering Building and saying, I want one of these days for somebody to propose to me on top of the Bowering Building. So it wasn't the guy at the high school grad, it was my bandmate in Mulberry Creek who did propose on top of the Bowering Building many, many, many years later. But so this song is about graduation night and how sweet it is when somebody is kind and, you know, just gives you those special moments that you remember forever that really set the bar for having somebody be nice to you.
Yeah.
Really, it was really special.
Nice.
And, you know, I guess, I don't know. I don't think he liked me, but man, yeah. What are we, like 15? But it was really sweet. It was a very sweet memory, and it was really nice. So
let's play that song, and then we'll come back for a minute. And,
yeah, that'd be great.
So this is I Came Back for You by Mulberry Creek. When I cross your mind, do you remember our high school dance? I forgot who you came with and hoped you'd take a chance. You laid your head on my shoulder and the world just disappeared. Some old country song was on, I whispered in your ear.
One day you'll forget how sweet this night has felt. I'll have moved on by then and you'll find someone else. There'll be days and months on end when I won't cross your mind. Oh, I hope someday you think about the time when only for a moment our worlds finally collide. Your folks moved to Boulder, I was left behind.
You were sitting by yourself with some guy you once knew. I came back for just one dance and we knew it was true. Life's made up of moments, though they're few and far between, where everything is perfect, I was king and you my queen. And so we danced together, let me know before we're through. Promise you'll remember when I came back for you. It's been years and years since then, I was happy, so complete. I held you close at a high school dance and I stepped on your feet. Our friends all laughed when our eyes met, they knew why I came back. They knew you'd been waiting to, a simple young love pact. Maybe we weren't meant to be, or in a different time. I would still be dancing with you, you would still be mine. Young hearts before they're broken is the truest love of all. I know we can't go back there and I know I shouldn't call. I came all this way is all, standing at your door. I promised I'd come back for you and we could dance some more. You made me cry until I laughed and held my hand so tight. I can leave tomorrow or I can stay the night. Life's made up of moments, so they're few and far between, where everything is perfect, no matter where you've been. And so we dance together, let me know before we're through. Promise you'll remember when I came back for you. Promise you'll remember when I came back for you. All right, that was I Came Back for You by Mulberry Creek. That was our first duet that we've done together.
Well done, hey. I liked it.
Well,
I really liked that one.
You wrote that one, and I think that was a lovely song.
So that one is going out to all the seniors that cannot get to their graduation this year. My heart goes out to you. I understand what it is to work towards something for such a long time, and you romanticize grad night. Really, it's there's such pomp and circumstance, and pageantry that goes along with it, and you really earn it. Like high school, graduating is hard. Any diploma, anything is a hard road, and it's nice to finish. And it's one of those things that when people don't finish, they carry it around for years that they missed out on graduation. It's not that big of a deal, really. You still get your diploma.
But it's a time that a lot of people remember.
It is. It stands out. So if you have a crappy night, and maybe you can look at the bright side. You're not going to have a crappy night because you're not going to have a grad at all. So, sorry about the pandemic. I know I do have my cousin Abby in Springdale is graduating this year, and I know she was really looking forward to graduating with her friends, and I'm really sorry that she's missing out on her grad. And there's a lot of people that who are in the same boat. Everybody's missing everything, all the concerts and all the shows and the sporting events and the weddings and even funerals. We've had some friends and relatives die in the last few weeks, and we haven't been able to go to the funerals. We can't get together, and it is a sad time. There's definitely a lot of downsides, and there's also upsides. There's a lot of creation happening. There's a lot of probably a lot of babies being created.
I would say that there's going to be a baby boom after this. There's going to be there was the baby boomers in World War II, and now there's going to be the Corona boomers.
It's amazing that this is happening around the world.
Everywhere.
That's something that blows my mind. It feels like it's local, and it's just not. It's huge. But there's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of other creating. We're still writing like gangbusters, and we're managing to do this show, and it's really nice to reach people and to hear from people. Which leads me into we have some giveaways. For the next I'd say at least 4 or 5 weeks, the guests that we have on, we have some copies of their CDs, and some of them wrote books. So we're going to have copies of those for giveaways. So get in touch with us. You can find us on Facebook. We're everywhere. Instagram.
Can we do a little preview of who's coming up, or should we just leave it for people to...
I'm okay letting people know because I think they need something to look forward to.
Well, Liz Solo.
Oh, my God, I love her.
We interviewed her, and it was awesome. She was super cool.
Oh, my God. She's, like, going back to high school days, she was one of my heroes. I looked up to her, like, she's really cool. Afraid of nothing.
And then we interviewed Colleen Power.
Yep. Also, same era.
Super cool.
Yep. Rockstar. Female rockstar, which is just amazing to me.
Arthur O'Brien from the
Navigators, who's I love Arthur. I know I love everybody, but I really do.
He's got a really cool voice.
That's why they end up on the show.
Super nice guy.
They're good people.
Who else have we interviewed? Anybody else? Mama Beth Revels
is
from Maine. Awesome Irish Newfoundland folk country singer.
We dug in with Mama Beth, and I learned stuff about her that she goes. Well, of course, she was stationed here in Argentia many moons ago with the American Navy, and just really dug into the music scene. She's been playing. She plays everything. She plays every different type of music, and she's got so much in her repertoire. And she's also really cool. Just a fantastic human being, and she's done so much for us, for our family, and she's helped us out with events that we've done, and she's performed for us at our different events, and we're hoping to get her to Newfoundland, or again, another thing that weren't able to get down to see her on our trip to Maine because that got canceled.
So we've got a bunch of really awesome interviews coming up and episodes, and a lot of those are going to have giveaways. We're going to give away their either CDs or books or digital
Liz
downloads.
Has a book coming out. Colleen has a whole bunch of different CDs, and she's got a new album coming out in the fall. Tomato have a new album coming out in September. We do have some copies of their last album. And Liz's book, we'll have copies of that, and Liz's CDs. And we also have a whole box set from Sean Painting, the entire Sean Painting catalog. I don't know. That's going to be a hard one for me to give away.
Yeah, we might
not
give that away.
So keep in touch with us. I'm not sure, like, what do people need to do to win to get a giveaway?
I don't know. We haven't figured that out yet, but go to Facebook.
Ask.
Yeah, just send us a message.
Get in touch with us.
Leave a comment and
tell us what you want.
I like Liz Solo. I want one of her albums or whatever. And we got Facebook. We got Instagram, Mulberry Creek Music.
Tell us
on
you
Instagram.
want one. Tell us which one you want, and we'll send it out to you. We'll mail it.
The Mulberry Creek Hour Facebook page. Just find us and get in touch.
I'll tell you one guaranteed way is if you tell somebody how much you love the show. Tell one of your friends about us. You don't have to invite all your friends to like the page. Tell one person.
Okay, so text your friend and say, listen to the Mulberry Creek Hour podcast, and then send us a screenshot of the text that you sent your friend and their response saying, I will listen to that right now, and then we'll send you some CDs.
People are asking all the time, like, what's the next show I should watch on Netflix or recommend a podcast? I don't have the guts to say ours. So maybe do us a favor. Tell people that, because we're really having a good time. And it's really fun to be able to reach everybody in this way. And it's fun to watch all the little, parts of the world light up when there's downloads in those areas. That's really fun. So we're having a good time. Join us in our good time and let people know what we're doing. We're not expecting to be in an next Mark Maron, but it's really nice to get our music into people's ears, into their ear holes. And to help the musicians that are on the show. And thanks to all of the musicians who've been so gracious and generous with their time to talk to us on the show and help us grow it.
So speaking of the musicians, let's get to our interview with Tomato.
So this is John and Lisa McLaggan out of St. John, New Brunswick. So welcome back to the Mulberry Creek Hour. I'm Vicki Morgan.
I'm Josh Morgan.
And we're joined by some of our, I think they're probably the inspiration for Mulberry Creek, Tomato out of St. John, New Brunswick. So Lisa and John McLaggan, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
So you guys have a family. What's your genre? What do you guys call yourselves in terms of what type of music you guys play?
That's a tricky one. I think we're somewhere in between folk and country, sometimes a little bit of kind of old rock and roll stuff.
Right. So we normally ask bands and musicians when they started playing music, and I think what's more interesting about both of you guys is when did you stop with the first music career and decide to switch over to a family band where you started creating together?
I mean,
that was probably, I think it's been 6 years since we put our first single out. So probably about a year before that. So 7 years, give or take.
And you both started out as music professors, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah. In the jazz world at that point, we both finished our master's degrees in Boston, and then we went to St. Yvette's and taught there for a couple of years. We ended up playing at some farmers markets, and we threw a song into the Searchlight competition, and that ended up getting some traction for us. And
we were the regional champion.
And that just kind of went from there.
I guess my first question about that is, when you were playing the farmers markets, did you ever feel like, because you were obviously very well versed in successful music careers, you knew how people's tracks usually went. So was there ever a point where you were like, farmers markets, that's beneath us? Like, did that ever cross your mind?
No. It's I think having our background be in jazz, it's a pretty humbling field, and you end up playing a lot of I don't know how to explain it. You play a lot of cocktail gigs where people aren't listening, and you get a thick skin for that kind of thing. So yeah,
I think your music goes really well with the feeling, the atmosphere of that farmers market. Like, it's down to earth. It's relatable. It's like, it's just, that's how you feel when you go to a farmer's market. Like, that's the kind of stuff that the music that you guys play is like, yeah, this is nice. This is the good feelings that I have when I'm at
I think when you dream of being a hippie, and being that
Right.
earthy granola kind of person who's helping the local farmer and, living your best life and creating art and just living roots, really down to your roots. I think that's how I would feel when I listen to Tomato.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, that's great. It's funny you say that, because I think it does make sense just with how we live our lives and who we are. And the jazz world was always kind of a weird fit for us. The hippie jazz musician, it's not so much a thing.
That's true. That is true. So did it help? I mean, obviously having that kind of a background, does it help when you guys are composing songs? You write together, obviously.
Actually, John is our songwriter, and I'm kind of the advice giver once the songs are like
The critic.
Yeah, I'm the critic, I guess is what you would say. John actually does all of our songwriting, and I just help, at the end, like when the songs are already finished, and then I'll help with arrangements and harmonies and things like that. But really, I just leave. It's just easier for one person to take care of it, and he's done far more research and kind of homework on the subject than I ever have. So yeah.
And I think our background in jazz did help with that in some ways. Definitely harmonically, in terms of writing chord progressions and that kind of thing. The instrumental parts of it, the arrangements, that all came pretty easily. But I had never written any lyrics before, so that was really where all of the work had to be done.
That's a big leap, I think, to go from, like, it's hard enough to write the music, and then when you I guess coming from either side, it's a really hard thing to do either one of those things, write the lyrics or write the music, and put them together it doesn't seem like a big step, but it's a big step to put those two things in action together.
For sure. Yeah, I was really intimidated by writing lyrics at first, and have put a lot of time into studying it since then.
Was that hard to start sharing with Lisa, to share, like, because it was such a leap to start writing lyrics and to be so vulnerable? Did that change your relationship at all? Or, over time, has it changed when you bring a new song to Lisa?
We kind of broke the seal on that right away. So there was a point where we really just had like one tune. and it worked, and so we kind of broke that seal right away, although I am still a little bit funny about sharing things that aren't finished. I usually like to wait until they're done.
If I could just add to that, we've also been, our relationship was a musical one forever, so it's not something new or different for us to be sharing musical ideas. Certainly different. I think there's a different level of vulnerability when you throw lyric writing into the picture. But I mean, we've been sharing music that we've been writing with each other for probably 20 years or however long.
Yeah, we're coming up on 16.
That's certainly too long. You guys aren't nearly old enough to be doing it for 20 years.
It's been 19 years that we've known each other. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you guys have, of course, I consider you guys a family band, because you're married to each other, obviously, but you've also found ways to include your daughter, which has been an inspiration for us to bring our instruments up out of the basement and leave them around the house, so we're not so worried about scratches and dents. And playing in front of the kids was also something we incorporated into our family a lot more after I met you a couple of years ago at the ECMAs. Listening to how you incorporate your daughter into your music life has been fantastic. So where are you guys with that? Is your daughter, is she taking lessons at this point? Is she playing along with you guys? I know she's done some really great performances with you guys. So where are you guys with her joining the band? I know you guys call her Cherry Tomato, and I have actually forgotten her real name, because to me, she's been Cherry Tomato.
Well, her name's Lucy, and she's 9 years old now. And I mean, she's not in the band like this. We're an adult professional band, but we have found ways to include her, like at Christmas time.
Christmas show, yeah.
And I mean, I think music's just been a part of her world since birth, and she is quite talented on her own. But I mean, when she's up on stage, like, that's all her. She asks to do it. She picks her own songs. She learns them on her own. Like, it's almost, we're kind of like having to tone her down.
We have to rein her in a little bit. So
she really is a natural performer.
For example, like the very first time she ever sang with us was also with Dave Gunning and Heather Rankin. And
Ray Legier.
And Ray Legier, yeah. And she said, she's also a gymnast. That's her other passion. So she said, I want to do some gymnastics on the front of the stage during my performance. And there was space to do that. And we said, okay, the only rule is you have to, you can do it during the solo, but you just have to come back in at the bridge. And she said, got it.
Wow.
Wow. And she did it.
And she nailed it. And she had no nerves, and the place went wild, and we probably wrecked the potential of her having a regular career. But, okay.
Wow.
So she's an artist now, for sure.
Yeah.
She's a performer.
Yeah. That's addictive.
Like, I do find, though, that those experiences have been shaping for her in some ways, in that, like John was mentioning, she's a competitive gymnast, and that can be really nerve-wracking. But for her to get up and be so focused in front of a panel of judges and spectators, I mean, she definitely does not struggle with nerves.
She's unfazed
as a result.
I can't imagine living in a house where your parents play and perform. Like, that's just such a foreign idea, and it's so normal for Lucy. Like, that's just what her parents do. She's been around it her whole life, and it's a whole new world. And I think they're going to be well adjusted, because they're watching their parents do what makes them happy, and that's something that I wish had been told to us when we were children. To follow your heart and do what makes you happy, because that's really, everything works out when you do that. Everything else lines up, right? It seems to be, anyway.
I think so.
Speaking of that, you guys just posted, I think last week. So I don't know when this is going to air, but let's say in the week that you guys posted your Kickstarter, it seemed to me, from the outside at least, that you guys hit your goal. It was almost halfway there when you posted it, and then it was within 2 or 3 days you hit your goal for your recent Kickstarter campaign. So you clearly have a very loyal, dedicated following that believe in what you're doing as well. There's something about there's a magic about seeing people who are lined up with what they should be doing in life, you know?
Yeah, we were blown away by that. It was 3 or might have been day 4 when we hit the goal, and it's just it's kept going a little bit since then, and
I feel like I'm going to cry.
it was a big relief, because it's always a gamble to put out an album, and given the state of affairs with Spotify and streaming and
no touring.
Well, and no touring, just kind of double down on that. But it's difficult when you have to create a very expensive product that has no market, that people aren't really willing to pay for anymore.
Tell us about the Kickstarter campaign. There was different levels. I thought what you did with the levels that was absolutely fantastic.
Well, I mean, honestly, we were really inspired by all of our fellow musicians in the community. I mean, we just did some research. We looked at what other people have done in the past and just took ideas from other musicians that, as inspiration. And I mean, there's some basic things that I think everybody would have, just like your digital download, CD, vinyl, T-shirt. I don't know, like everybody has a certain amount of things that would be, have some continuity between any Kickstarter campaign for musicians. But
I think we realized this time around that because it's a given that everyone will get the music, and a lot of people don't have even a way to play CDs anymore, that it had to be about something different and kind of being part of something rather than just like pre-sales for an album. We wanted to make it a little more involved and come up with some interesting things and have
part of the story.
Yeah, have people be literally, a part of the making of the album, I guess.
You guys, one of the things with the Kickstarter campaign was that you wanted to pay other professionals to do the graphic design and the other parts of that, which seemed to be very important to you guys, to be able to pay other artists for the things that they're good at. And is that am I on the mark with that? Is that it seems you probably could have called in a bunch of favors and got a bunch of stuff done for free.
Yeah, absolutely. We kind of talked about this going way back. Do we want the albums to be a reflection of the live show, exactly, and keep them as a duo thing, or do we just want to make it a studio album? And we kind of decided that we would make them studio albums and make them the best studio albums they could be, since that was really ultimately the platform for them. Trying to keep as much of our kind of the energy from the live show in there as possible. But so in that case, that means collaborating with a lot of musicians, which is always an amazing opportunity. And it's always been, you're right, it's always been a priority for us not to nickel and dime the people we work with, just because they're friends and just because they're generous doesn't mean they shouldn't get paid well for what they've spent years, cultivating.
So when you are doing studio albums, so that means you're laying all the tracks down separately and you're not in the same room, you're not playing live off the floor. How do you get how do you get the energy up when you're playing just a track, like just the, one instrument or one vocal or whatever? How do you get the energy up? This is something I've never asked anybody, but sure. I'm very curious, because when we started recording here, it was like you're listening to something in a headset. There's weird. No eye contact. You're not playing an instrument. Yeah. Like, how do you, because it comes across really well. The recordings are so fantastic. How do you do that?
Well, we actually do a lot of the recording live off the floor. So vocals are done later, but all the musicians are playing live together for the most part. You throw, if it's an egg shaker, that's probably going to get done later. But yeah, the drums, bass, the guitars, that's all happening live. And in fact, in the last album, a couple of the vocal tracks that Lisa performed were live with the band. They were supposed to be scratch tracks, and we just ended up keeping them.
Nice.
And so I think that's a big part of it. And you just kind of have to, even though it's somewhat sterile, the vocal performances, they still have to be a performance. And you kind of have to get yourself psyched up for it a little bit, as much as you can.
So another thing I wanted to ask you about too, I know when we met a couple of years ago, and you guys said at the time, you had been hearing yeses from a lot of people, so you knew you weren't asking enough questions. And I just thought, man, they have some thick skin. I could never do that. Where are we with the yes and no ratio now? Obviously everything is shut down for now, but before the pandemic, and clearly life is going to go on after it's over. What's the ratio for you guys now? Are you comfortable with how much you're asking in terms of touring and shows and things like that? Were you getting more comfortable with challenging yourselves?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we have an agent who handles the money side of stuff, so they've kind of found the pocket for that works. And there's still lots of no's to go around, but we're as busy as we want to be. So yeah, no complaints.
How do you deal with rejection? Is that something that even phases you? It seems like you don't water off a duck's back and you just carry on.
Depend. I mean, sometimes it's harder than others depending on what it is, but
nobody likes rejection, like,
yeah,
it doesn't feel good for anybody, but
all festival directors and venue programmers all have their own agendas and tastes, and you just kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. They may be programming for a very young audience or an older audience, or there's so many factors going on.
It probably has very little to do with your music, anyway.
It could, there could be a lot of other things other than the music going on. So you just kind of.
But one thing that I noticed you guys did, I think 2 years ago or maybe a year ago, you went on tour. You did a tour like in Europe, right? But I remember you brought your daughter and were able to travel and play and not have to, phone in. You didn't have to do video chats with your daughter, which I think was the ultimate for me. That was like, I want that life. So
yeah, we've done that a few times actually.
Yeah, we've had her. She's toured Australia with us, and she's toured England, and then different shows across Canada too. But it's totally feasible. It ultimately becomes a budget issue, but in a way that makes it more manageable. When you realize, like, oh, it's just money. It is a real issue, but it's something you can kind of grab onto a little more easily. When we've done those longer tours, we've always taken a babysitter with us.
When you do travel with her, how much do you get to see the places that you're in? Like, between sound check and showtime, do you get a chance to see the places and experience them with your whole family? Is that or is it like, no, mom and dad are resting because, how much are you able to engage in sounds?
Did you say resting?
Yeah. So that's the hard. That is the hard part about touring with your child, is that so when we have taken a sitter, we would get home, she'd already be sleeping, get home from the gig at 11 o'clock or something, and she'd be sleeping, but then she'd get up at 6 or 7 and be ready to go, and we would just have to be up and ready to go. So you're kind of, it's full on. It's worth it. And we do program in some days just to be tourists, and it really depends on where you are and what festival it is. And when we took her to Australia, the first festival we played, we were actually there doing promo for the festival for a week, doing radio and like little satellite shows. And we had like a driver and like a personal assistant, and they put us up in this condo, and my dad was there with us, and she was living the life, doing all kinds of stuff. We went to SeaWorld and these other sanctuaries. And so that one, we had a lot of great family time during certain parts of the tour, but it's a lot of work too.
So that's really interesting, because it didn't even occur to me. So living in St. John, New Brunswick, when you have shows, it kind of got past me that you also have a daughter. So if she's having a restless night or is up at 6 a.m., like, how do you possibly get to perform and write and record and all those other things? And so you've managed to raise a child, a healthy, well-adjusted child, alongside a music career. And has that been, like, I would imagine that's probably the biggest challenge aside from funding and tours. I would imagine managing your life every day, because you don't have, you're not Taylor Swift. You don't have 7 assistants who manage, cook for you every day and things. Like, you still have a regular life to live.
I mean, she has training at her gym for her gymnastics team 3 days a week, So I mean, she has her own life too. Yeah,
but we're exhausted.
Yeah, we're
all the time.
We're tired.
Tired all the time.
Work 7 days a week, and a lot of times it's we always alternate who's doing bedtime with her. So
we take turns.
If Lisa's doing bedtime, then I I'll kind of stop working when Lucy gets home from school, and then Lisa will go up to do bedtime, and I'll go back out to the studio for a few hours and work until I go to bed, and then we're up early, and it's just kind of full on all the time.
That's a reality show.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody needs to see our reality. But...
Oh my, I would want to see it. I'd want to see how you manage that, and like when you're sitting there with toothpicks, holding your eyes open, and who's making Pop-Tarts for dinner tonight, like just how you manage.
It's a lot of coffee.
Yeah, we drink a lot of coffee, and I think that you can do hard things. We can all do hard things, and it's not as hard if you love it. I mean, we love our music, we love our child, so it's not like it's like work to be a parent. We chose to be parents.
Yeah.
But we are always refining. I mean, my goal this year is to take a few days off, like now and again.
Like aside from Christmas morning.
Literally, I would go year to year and only take Christmas Day off.
Yeah.
And just.
Sometimes you would go into the studio on Christmas Day.
I have, yeah.
So the work that you do is almost like a hobby you really, really love. And so I get kind of wrapped up in if I'm doing a knitting project. That's all I want to do. And I get up in the morning, and my 9-year-old is exactly the same. He obsesses. But if you're doing work that you love, how do you put a pause button on that and say, I have a song, I have some lyrics I want to get down, I want to polish this track. Like, how do you put a pause button on something you love? Because if you had a 9-to-5 job in an office, it would be very obvious you're working overtime. But when it's something you're creating and love, like how do you juggle that? Because it probably might not be difficult because you're happy all the time, or at least creating and joyful. But how do you pull back and go, oh, I also love Lisa and Lucy, and I want to spend, like, is that hard to juggle? And I'm sorry, I guess I'm directing this at John.
It's okay.
Yeah,
he's much more of a workaholic than I am.
Well, it's the songwriting takes a lot,
yeah.
And the studio stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's sometimes hard to turn it off, but usually, like, I pick them up from school every day, and I'm really excited to see them, and I just kind of play as much as I can, and then I go back out in the evening, and
right.
That is as in terms of longer pauses, though, I don't know.
It just seems like if you were frustrated all day long, when you do spend time with your family, you'd be wound up really tight. But when you're already doing things that make you happy, then they're getting the best of you, even if it's for a few hours a day or just bedtime that day. Like, it's really good. I hate the phrase quality time, but it applies here. When you're happy, you're really at your best and hitting their stride when you're with your family. So it's like you guys are like our model family. I don't mean to keep blowing smoke up your butts, but for real, this is really fascinating stuff. Well, we just, you see so often that people are so unhappy in their lives, and they're, just in physical pain, and they're not creating, and they're not living the life they want. And also they can't see their families. But bringing it all together is like, I would imagine it's not a big deal to interrupt John's work either, because he's usually in a good place, it seems like. So it's not like you're intruding. It's like, no, this is all happy space.
Also, I mean, honestly, I think John and we've tried to instill this in Lucy, not a day goes by that we don't express gratitude in some way. And even now, during this pandemic, not a day goes by that I'm not grateful and very aware that I'm very privileged to be in a healthy home, with my healthy family. I mean, I think that's really, really important. And I thought that before our pandemic situation, but now I think it's kind of been weighing on me in the forefront of my mind a little bit more.
How have you guys been doing during the pandemic? Because obviously Lucy can't go to gymnastics 3 times a week and those things, and everything has kind of come to a standstill. But how are you managing with you're in New Brunswick, you're allowed a bubble family, right?
We've been doing really well, but we're very close with my parents, and Lucy's very close with them. I'm an only child. She's an only grandchild. So it's been very difficult not to see them. We're used to seeing them a few times a week. So adding the bubble family has been amazing.
Wow.
But we were managing well before that, but she's with them right now, actually.
I was afraid of the bubble family concept because I thought, what are families doing if there's if there's 2 families they'd like to, or if there's an overbearing in-law, that has to be picked. I'm just imagining all the bad things that can happen, but clearly It's not a bad thing. So
Lisa's family's in Chicago, so it was easy for us that way. We didn't have to make any tough decisions or flip a coin.
And so you're hearing from all these festivals and all these things. So everything is pretty much done till at least December this year, right? January will be the first time anyone's allowed out at this point.
It's what
I
it's
think
looking
so.
like, yeah.
I think so. But
We'll see how Christmas shows go. That's the stuff that's still, they're saying no live performances in this calendar year right now, but subject to change. It's all changing so quickly. Who knows?
You guys have a new album. What's the release date for the new album?
It's probably going to be sometime in September. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a different paradigm. I mean, normally you release the album and tour to support that release, but I don't know. We'll just see. We're not going to hold it back. We're just going to release it anyway.
What can we expect on the new album? Is it different at all from the past albums at all?
Yeah,
a little bit.
I think there's some growth there.
It's got it's a little more rock and roll. But when I say that, it's more like a couple of the tunes. One tune in particular is kind of rock, but it's more like for example, we do a Buddy Holly cover, so it's more like old rock and roll influence, I guess. Kind of some of the stuff I grew up on. Yeah, Beatles, Traveling Wilburys, that more of that kind of thing, not like
awesome.
Intense rock and roll, not rock, but rock and roll. That makes sense. There's gonna be some really fun stuff. But it's actually even more. It's more upbeat than our last album. There's nothing political on it. I wasn't in that headspace this time around. I was exhausted by how political everything's been. I just didn't want to go there with this album.
It's exhausting.
It just got to be too much for me personally. Like, we all know Trump's an idiot. We don't need another song about that. We all know the global warming's an issue. Like, I just felt, and other people are doing that and doing it really well.
Yeah.
It's just not where my heart was taking me with this one. I needed a break.
So thank you, Lisa and John of Tomato, for being on the Mulberry Creek Hour. It has been awesome.
Oh, thanks so much for having us.
Thanks for having us.
And so we'll definitely want you to come back on in September when the album is released and have a chat and just to see where people can get it and just see how your summer went and all that stuff. And best of luck and congratulations on the Kickstarter. You absolutely deserve that kind of support. It's so encouraging to see what good people can do when their hearts are in the right place and all that stuff. So thank you for doing this and congratulations and all the best to you guys.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for checking
best
in.
of luck to you.
Stay safe.
So that was Tomato out of St. John, New Brunswick.
Yeah, thanks again to Lisa and John, and congratulations again on that Kickstarter that went beyond their goal within 4 days. That
Super
is
cool.
Absolutely deserved, and I'm very happy for him. I'm really very happy for him. That was sweet, and it's nice to know that I'm not the only person that feels that way about him.
Yeah,
they had a lot of support jump on.
And they were genuinely appreciative and really happy about it. That's really nice that they were so.
Yeah. It's a nice community to be a part of, and a musician community. John and Stephanie were on, of course, last week, and same thing. When John had a stroke, everybody rallied around. So it was really nice to see people help each other out. It's nice.
Yeah.
Music connects people, and it's good to be a part of that community. So yeah, thanks again to them.
Yeah, so that's our interview for the Mulberry Creek Hour for this week.
Yes, and if you'd like some music, if you'd like to hear their last album, Canary in a Coal Mine, we do have some copies of that, so get in touch with us. Make it up. Just do something creative. Interesting offers considered.
Yes.
We do have copies. We'll mail it out to you.
Ask and we'll probably send you one.
Yeah, we got a bunch. We did get a bunch from them. We are purchasing albums from our guests because that's something that we can do to help. And also, we want you to hear their music as well because without our listeners, there'd be really no podcast. This would be just us talking in our basement. So we appreciate the opportunity to share this with you. And for the people that are downloading every week, thank you for listening. That's really great.
Yeah. Now, I remembered earlier we were talking about prom and grad and stuff, and I'm from North Carolina, and we just have prom. But I did wear a tuxedo T-shirt to prom my senior year.
And who was your lucky date?
Well, that's actually a funny story because my Spanish teacher had a coupon for a nice restaurant, and I didn't have a date. So this guy, Alan, was in my Spanish class, and he was like, I really like that place. So we went to this restaurant together. And then we drove separately to the prom afterwards, and after having a lovely meal.
Oh my God!
In my tuxedo T-shirt.
Does anybody have a good prom story?
It was a nice prom story.
Sure.
Alan was a nice guy. He was our valedictorian.
Oh my God! You're so lucky. Oh, what a dream! What a dream come true. Tell us your prom stories. I'd like to hear some stories, good or bad. Reach out and tell us your prom story, because I know you haven't forgotten. You never forget your prom night. And even if it's whatever it is, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear it. But just a little shout out to a little guy. He wasn't little. He was sweet. He was really sweet. And I appreciate Josh singing a song about bread with me, because you've met him. Everybody,
he's a nice guy.
He's fantastic.
He's cool.
He's absolutely fantastic, and I'm so glad we've been able to keep in touch. He was really fantastic. And thanks to Allison for staying up with me till 6 o'clock in the morning on grad night. It really was a perfect night. I don't know what happened to my date. He was gone with the wind pretty fast. And there was a party that was in a field that got rained out. But it was, again, stuff you remember for the rest of your life. So shout out to everybody who is supposed to be graduating this year. And there will be parties. I promise you there will be more parties. And there'll be lots of time when this is all done and everybody's back to the new normal, which will be a new and improved normal. You'll get parties. You'll get to celebrate your achievement. And there's lots of time. Stay safe. Follow the directions. Don't invite us to any parties. We're not going to your parties. We're going to wait until Justin Trudeau gets a haircut and lifts the
Stay in your own house or your other bubble.
And yes, and congratulations if you got invited to be in somebody's bubble. Our phones have been ringing off. You're not ringing at all. We didn't get any invitations to be in anybody's bubble.
We have our own bubble, and we don't have a double bubble. But that's okay. If you're not in Canada and you don't know what we're talking about, just Google
bubble and double bubble.
Newfoundland double
I
bubble.
wonder, what's going on in people's homes when they have like two kids, and have two
it's
friends.
Be crazy, and they're slowly
or
releasing...
like in-laws, or someone who expects to be in the bubble and isn't. Like, I just feel like that's just a nightmare waiting to happen. I don't even want to. I'm kind of glad we're still in our bubble.
Yeah, we got a nice bubble.
Our bubble is universal, and we're including you in ours, and we're inviting you into our home. Not really. But you know what I mean. We're in your home. I guess we're in their homes.
We're in your home. We're in your bubble right now. So thank you for listening to the Mulberry Creek Hour.
Make sure you subscribe, because we got some really great shows coming up in the next few weeks, and we've got lots of giveaways. Tell one friend. That's our goal for this week. Tell one friend how much you like our show and that they should listen to it. That's all we're asking. And stay safe.
And we'll see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.